Hello everybody and welcome back. Nice you joined me again. Today I will dive with you into the material I give to you and let's start. If you missed something or if you're not that familiar with GitLab, I'm happy to record a video on GitLab itself. Just let me know. I will start with the problem that I give you some code and how to get familiar with, unknown code. So you have the link to this repository, and so you either download the zip file and work locally with the files, or you upload it to another repository of yourself, or you fork this repository. In the end, you have these files on your hard disk, and first things you should always do, look for readmes. And as the folder structure suggests, the programming code is on the app. So first I always do, of course, I open the app and run it. You might have to run pubget to get all the libraries I use. And then I like to have a look at the user interface. So usually I open the DevTools. And here I have the widget tree, the layout explorer, and so on. I will put a link into the description for further introduction of the DevTools. The other thing I usually do, I search for all references to find the point where this counter screen get initialized and called. Here you find all the references. You can jump to them, and going back on Windows it's Alt and arrow back. I can also do a file text search with Control-Shift-F, and then I usually go through the code, and if I find something I don't know, for example this one, I use this go to definition. So after I played a little bit with the code, I read the readmes. And here you have section getting started, because there are some points where this URL is hard-coded in the scripts. Or for example, in Android you usually have a namespace, and the default namespace is com.example or something similar. And it's good to change this namespace at the very beginning. So follow the instructions here, and you should be able to run everything in your own repository or even locally. So now we will have a look at the continuous integration as I provided. In this video, if you are not familiar with continuous integration, you get a good introduction into continuous integration with GitLab. So this YAML file describes what to do on which push to the repository, and you will find it visualized in this pipeline editor. So I built my own Docker image with the corresponding Docker file, and the Docker image itself is pushed to this container registry, so it does not need to fetch it from the network every time. Then we will build automatically the web application, the APK unsigned, and some documentation files you can fill by yourself. In addition, we will check the code quality automatically. The code quality is defined in the analysis options, and I suggest you start with them. It's better to start more strictly at the beginning and get more relaxed later on when you know what you're doing. While the other way around, you might have to do a lot. And if the analysis options find any problems, they will be listed here. If you add this option to your user settings, everything which is possible to fix automatically will be done on save. You can also change the continuous integration in this editor here. For example, if you're interested in the app only and not into the documentation stuff, you might skip this part, you might skip this part, and you may not even publish it to the GitLab pages. As I showed you earlier, you get generated these GitLab pages automatically with the continuous integration pipeline. Here you see all the pipelines of the past. You can download the artifacts here. You can dive into these different phases of each pipeline. And if you run some tests, you will find the results listed here. Under each pipeline, you can look out for the tests. And the other big folder you might fill by yourself is the documentation. You can even open it with Obsidian. So you can collect all your snippets, all your learnings. You can even start doing your user research and develop your own application. It's simple Markdown, and this Obsidian tools makes things a little bit easier, but you can also do it in Visual Studio Code. In addition, you will find in the subfolder .gitlab some issue templates and merge request templates. And here I will give you a link with tons of further templates. So if you open a new issue, and I suggest you work with issues, it just helps you to stay more focused. You can choose a template. For example, you want to fix a bug and want to document it first and then work on it. Then you can work on an issue board and move those tickets to do. You can order them. Then if you're working on them, you're doing them, and then they might be reviewed or tested. So move those tickets. It gives you a good overview what you want to do, what you did already, and everyone else working on the system sees it too. And once you're done, hopefully you worked on a separate branch, you can easily create a merge request, and you can also follow my merge request. Although I was working on the repository by myself, I followed this workflow, and you can follow me how I develop this repository step by step. Here you will find all the changes going from the last merge to this merge. And there's one thing I suggest you use if you're working with branches and merge requests: squash commits. It helps you to create small commits on your branch and then squash everything together to one major commit, so your commit history is cleaner. So to sum up what I give you in the repository, as I said, you can either work on it locally, but I suggest you set up your own repository and start with the files I give you. I showed you how you get started with unfamiliar code, what you need to do to work with the files I give you, how the CI pipeline is set up and how it works in GitLab. GitHub has something similar. There are many videos going from GitHub to GitLab or from GitLab to GitHub. I showed you the documentation, how it is generated automatically based on Markdown files, and suggest you use Obsidian or Visual Studio Code to fill them. I suggest to use issues and issue templates and create merge requests, and how to follow the development of this repository with the merge requests of this repository. So that's all I want to talk about GitLab. If you missed something, I'm happy to give another video on GitLab itself, or I use, for example, GitHub Desktop as a UI tool for GitLab, but you can also use the Git Bash. And of course, you can do most of it within Visual Studio Code itself. So next time, I'm happy to start coding and Flutter with you. See you then. Bye-bye.